Good afternoon, everybody. This is our special meeting to discuss salary review for electeds per Wyoming Statute 183107. So it's been about 4 years since we've done this, and it was time to review again. Penny was nice enough to prepare these handouts, and I think he's provided to you previously, but well, Kenny, do you want to come up and discuss, or have you already chatted with everybody?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
We have on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yes.
We can.
Yes. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Jennings. Afternoon meetings throwing me out. All right, Kenny, please, thank you.
Madam Chair, Kenny Custis, Human Resources Director. I just provided these as examples. They're not necessarily to give any guidance on pay per se. So I had a request of, I believe, one of the county commissioners. They were just curious approximately how much employees had received over the last 4 years. So if you look at the first chart, that's just examples of 2.5%. And what that would look like. County employees over the last 4 years have received approximately 15% increase since the elected's last increase. So that's just an example of what those dollar amounts would look like. The next example is, so if every elected official got a 15% raise, that's what it would look like. For example, if the county assessor total increase of 15%, it was about $14,500. That drove me to the next example of what it would look like if the elected officials all received just $15,000. So the first square on that form is where everybody is now. Second square is what a $5,000 per year increase equals. The next three squares are just examples. We broke $5,000 down over a 3-year payout instead of a one-time payout of $15,000. That's just what it would look like. So again, just examples, different ways you could look at giving increases. You don't have to give an increase all at once. You could do it over 2, 3, 4 years. So just different examples.
Okay, thanks for putting those together. It's good to be able to see just how it could look spread out, and then these smaller 2.5% increases. Yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. So we do have another meeting booked same time next week to finish these conversations. We won't be making any official decisions, but hopefully we'll have it buttoned up next week. We need to have something officially by May 1st. I believe is the date. So hopefully folks kind of have an idea of where they'd like to be. And then we can take a week and think about it and come back. But we're just going to go in order of putting people on the spot. So we'll start with the assessor. Sorry, yeah, please, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Well, honestly, I really don't have too big of an opinion because I just
It's just got there, yes.
But and I think I would rather see the employees get, a bigger raise than myself.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Diana. And you handed out something to us as well.
I don't know if everybody got to see it, but that was just done today by the LSO. And I don't know if, I know Mike, Commissioner Arzi knows about this because he was the one that was helping contact some legislators. I contacted all of ours, and actually, it was Freedom Caucus, Ken Pendergraft, who did go to the legislature on our behalf. I'm always hoping that the County Commissioners Association would do it, and I'm always astounded when they don't. And I know I've talked about this before, but most of you probably know that the state pays part of the salary of everybody in my office, all the attorneys in my office. And that number, that their contribution has not changed since 2007 for the deputies and 2009 for the county and district attorneys. So it's so long due that they adjust that, because every case that we prosecute is for the state of Wyoming, every juvenile case. What you see, what the commissioners, what you mostly see is what Clint does, because he's the one that's here most of the time. You don't see 95% of what we do. And what we do is mostly in court a lot, trials a lot, but we do it all in the state of Wyoming. Clint does a little bit for the state in voluntaries, but I've been for years trying to get an increase for the county and district attorneys, because quite frankly, we are so far from being able to compete with our other government attorneys across the board. We can't hire anybody. Every county attorney's office across the state's losing people and can't hire people. Some have had vacancies for years. I spoke to a couple of people that were interested in coming to Sheridan, and they said with high cost of living and what we offered, they just couldn't do it. You got to remember, most attorneys with doctorate degrees have student loans, coming out of law school after 7 to 8 years in college, and they need to get in a job where they can make some money. And we've been behind. Historically, the county and district attorneys have been the same as the circuit judges, or actually it was district judges. And then the legislature had a cap on the salaries for the county attorneys, county and district attorneys. They had that cap on there for 8 years. And we tried hard to get them to raise the cap. So the caps of all of the electeds, Ida, everybody, we finally got that cap raised from 100, which, by the way, I never got to. Most of the bigger counties were all at the cap in all of their counties. But they did raise it to 145. And so that's where all the electeds are, except for the full-time electeds. Since then in 2022, the legislature recognized what had been the history is the county attorneys and district attorneys were the same as the district judges. And they wouldn't change that in legislation to the district judges, but they changed it to the circuit judges. So whenever the circuit judges get a raise, the county and district attorneys can get a raise as well. As far as the cap, I'm not for the counties, but as far as the state cap. So our salaries, our cap goes with circuit judges now. Circuit judges are now 153.7. The cap, they were at 145, and that's why the cap is set at 145. The County Attorneys Association did that, and then they brought everybody else along with it. So the clerks, the sheriff, everybody. So now that's what, so there's several attorneys, county attorneys, and district attorneys around the state that are all at the 145 cap. This year, they will all go, I'm sure they'll raise the one at 145, they'll all go to 153.7. But how do counties afford that? Well, Sweetwater County, I mean, some of those counties, they've always been there. They don't really rely on the help from the state. But right now, the state pays the counties $50,000 a year for my salary. So Sheridan County pays the least for my salary right now for any elected officials except for the part-time county commissioners. The state pays, or the county pays $65,000 of my salary, and the state pays $50,000. They pay $30,000 for each of the deputies. I have a deputy that makes more than me. I have two that are coming up to make more than me. during the last time we got raises, there were 3 that were making more, and I just say me, being the county attorney. So deputies in Gillette and some of those, almost all of their deputies make more than the elected because they can't hire people. And so while the elected makes 145 in Gillette, they have at least 3 or 4 making more than that person. And they're doing that because they can't hire people. Sweetwater County has 8 deputies. I have 4. Some of the smaller counties, Carbon County, they have like 5 or 6. Albany County has 6. So Sheridan's going, for our size, we're gonna have the least deputies. And we did that because my predecessor kind of more of was a supervisor. He did some of the big trials, but he didn't really do all the day-to-day. And when I took over, I didn't refill my position. I do the day-to-day. I'm in the rotation for all the cases. I'm not too good to do a speeding case in circuit court. I mean, I do them all. And that's how we run it because I needed more support staff. So it was either fill my attorney position or support staff. We need support staff. So we do it with 5 attorneys, and that's I think the lowest for the population compared to the other offices around the state. So that's a little bit of background. So we did go to the legislature this year, and they recognized. I think the most overwhelming vote in the whole legislature this year was on this issue. 1 senator voted no, and all the House voted yes. All the Freedom Caucus, everybody across the board, because they all recognize that they need to start stepping up and helping the counties out. And they have done so. And you see that in that letter, and this letter, starting in fiscal year 2027, 28, the state is going to pay each county or district attorney. Well, actually, the district attorneys are not in this. The county, it's just the 21 county attorneys, an extra $22,123.90. That can only be used for our salaries. Can't be used for anything else. And the $50,000 that they already pay can only be used for salaries, nothing else. So they're going to be contributing the 50 plus 22,123.90 per year toward the county attorney's salary. And then you see also in the letter, they're going to be, this depends on how many deputies, that fluctuates a lot. But as of the time they passed this, the state will be paying $13,805.31 for each deputy. So I have 4 deputies, so they're going to be helping Sheridan County out by that much for each one. So it's a temporary fix. They were trying to get a standalone bill, and as always, they had too many to deal with, and nobody could get it organized. Blah, blah. So the House Appropriations, Pendergraft, went to bat, and he got it passed in appropriations, the Senate. And again, it was the most overwhelming vote in the whole legislative session to do this. And they are very eager to make this permanent and make it a system that will continue, that we don't have to address this. It shouldn't be 18 years before this is addressed. So the idea is it's going to be a continuous thing to increase the state's contribution as salaries increase. It used to be, it's so for the county attorney, it's 50,000 or 50% or 50,000, whichever is less. And it's been that way since 2009. So they've got it off pretty good because the salaries have increased, but their contribution has. So they're really planning on they already have it. It's already an interim session issue. We already are set up to testify. So it seems they're already taking it very seriously.
And I know you just said this went out today.
The letter went out today.
Yeah.
I asked them to.
So Diana, do you think for the county attorney would be an appropriate place for salary?
Well, I think what my ask would be to make it same with the circuit judges. That is the idea. That is the idea of the legislature. That is the idea of the legislature 2 years ago to pull our salaries along with them. I'm at 115. So I'm a long way from that. Now the extra 22,000 helps. Depending on if you wanted to go to that, or if you were at cap of 145 or an even 150, I have all the numbers, but all of those numbers for the increase from the county are still less than say, I just picked a deputy in my office, the most senior. And in 4 years, he's got $25,000 raise. This would be a $16,000 difference that the county would put in to go to all the way to the top, because the state's picking up that difference. So if you go lower at like the 150, and not quite what the judges are at, it's I did different calculations of what it would cost the county, but because you're getting over $72,000 from the state, you're still paying less for the county attorney salary than you are for many other elected, and many other employees, not even elected, in the county. So that would be the goal, is to get us, and here's the thing is, I've already tried to hire some people and I can't do it. And whoever is the county attorney, this is not always for me, this is for whoever it is. And we, as you know, we're all elected. We don't know what's gonna happen. But I can tell you that Sheridan County faces a crisis because we are having 3 people getting very close to retirement. And I can't find anybody that'll do it. So whoever's holding that ball is gonna be a busy person. Because now that what they're adding, what the state is adding temporarily and hopefully more in the future will make it so whoever's the county attorney can hire some deputies. I know one of them is gonna work for 2 more years, one of them said 2 more years, and I don't know about the other one, but we're gonna have vacancies, and the word is in Wyoming is Sheridan's a great place to live, but you can't afford to live there. And you can't afford to have student loans. And I'm trying to keep it down to a total of 5 attorneys, because I think it's working for us. If anything, we need more staff. We're behind on discovery. We're just a super busy office. Attorneys, we work on weekends, we work nights. I mean, I know everybody hears us, but we really do. I mean, if you go by our parking lot on the weekends, there's cars there. And that's because we have too much work. But we're making it work. But we're just not gonna be able to get anybody. We're not competing with the other counties. We've looked to the back, okay, us versus Fremont County versus Park County versus Albany County. That's the way it's been done in the past. Well, when you're all comparing and if you're all at caps and you all can't get raised, that's why everybody stayed. I mean, we were stuck for 8 years, and that's raised. The counties that could get raised, they went up right away. Again, in all those counties, they still have deputies making more than the electeds, because that's what they have to do to get people to work for. I mean, I've been beating this drum, and Kenny knows it, and I sent an email to Christy. Our salary was kind of set on the Condrey. I called Condrey. They said that the Condrey study was not meant for attorneys. Yeah, that's kind of how we set for example, Christopher in my office, who's been there since 2006, he's not at level 25 or whatever. I said, why would somebody with a doctorate degree not be the top level? He said, well, he doesn't supervise people. And the Condrey, the number of people he supervises determines what grade and how far you go. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense for attorneys. He said, yeah, it's not supposed to be for attorneys. And I gave an example. There's supervisors at the hospital. There's nursing supervisors. They get paid more than the people they supervise, but they don't get paid more than the doctors who don't supervise anybody. We're getting paid for our training and our education, not because we supervise or don't supervise people. And so the Condrey kind of set the salaries, and I think that's why we're kind of stuck. And that's why we may not be able to get people if we need to.
Yeah, and I'd love to see what we can do for employees, for staff. And I'm, Diana, if you want to see this at the 153,700, this is based on that legislation, we can do it at the 137,500, which would be the $22,000 increase. I think for today, we just want to put what you would recommend in that
Right.
line. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, I figured out that, the 153, which is again, the goal of all of it is, the increase from the county with the 22,000 would be 16,250. Again, Christopher got a $25,000 raise over 4 years. So it's still less than, if it's at 150, the county's paying a, increase of 12,427, with the 22. I mean, so with the increases, that 22 helps a lot. And again, talking to the legislatures, there wasn't anybody that was like, no, this is, they recognize it, because it's not just us. They've been hearing it from everybody, and they've been hearing it from, I mean, we've had electeds quit in the middle of their terms. We've had, this last 4 years, we've had 2 of them quit in the middle of the terms, one to go get paid more at the district attorney's office in Casper, because he was the elected, but he was stuck. And so I think our employees they're under because of the Condrey study placed it, but at least they're getting raises, but I think this will really help for them. That's really important. And I hate to always advocate. It's awkward to advocate for ourselves when we get up here, but we're advocating a position that none of us know we're gonna have. But I can tell you Sheridan County's gonna, with the cost of living, and I mean, as you know, you didn't get raises either. And we haven't, 4 years, we went through some pretty high inflation and didn't get any of that offset, like at least some of our staff did. But it hurts, and it's hard to keep going. And we're not trying to compete with the private sector, because we can't. And we're government attorneys, we're not in this to get rich, but we are competing against other government attorneys. And the state is blowing us out of the water. And people are going to the judiciary because that's the next best option. So we got to stay competitive, and this is an essential service, and it is. We work with the sheriff's office. We work together as a team. They can arrest all they want, but if you don't have us, then it doesn't work, and it worked the other way around. And I know that, and he can come up and speak. Levi has the same thing. Only he's competing against the police department and the highway patrol, and we're losing. But we're competing against the state public defenders walking with higher salary than we do, than the county attorney. So it's not all about money. It sounds like it's about money, but it is about getting people, good quality people, to work for us, and a good quality prosecutor or civil attorney. What's one more thing? As Clint knows too, Casper hasn't been able to find a county attorney. Now, they don't prosecute, they're just county attorney, because the district attorney does, we do both in our office, but they have a county attorney and a district attorney, and they can't find a county attorney. I think it's the salary, so people get pulled away from government.
Yeah. And we know we're not touching this for another 4 years.
Right, and that's yeah. So
Okay.
I have a bunch of numbers, and we can talk about that if anybody has any questions, because I've sat there and thought about different numbers in different ways, but I knew about this because we were very involved with it, but I asked the LSO to write this letter so you can see it in paper, and hopefully better things are coming, more permanent fixes are coming, because it's a statewide problem.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just doing math. So, I mean, it obviously, well, not obviously, but I feel like the state's chipping in 22,000. It's appropriate to have in between that 137,000 to 153,000. But we'll put it in here as 153,700 for today, and just chew on that. Yeah, if that works.
Sure.
Anybody have any other comments or discussion on that?
I guess I'd just like to comment that we dang sure would love to give everybody huge raises. We only have so much money. I mean, that's the issue. And you look at some of these other counties, you look at Campbell County with $3.2 billion in mineral assessments, and look at our mineral assessments. I mean, that's the issue is, I wish we could give everybody a huge raise, and I appreciate you advocating and so on and so forth. And it is good that the state pitched in. I loved at the breakfast this morning, we were able to give all the state employees a raise, but they sure never said we're increasing the county's budget so that you can give all the county employees a raise. or the city's budget so that they can give all the city employees a raise. So, I mean, we give everybody a tax cut and then we try and give everybody a raise.
Yeah.
And it puts us between a rock and a hard place,
Well,
you know?
yeah,
So,
this is, and this is great information, so thank you
good
for
information.
that. I think it gives us a better idea of what that window is, so.
And that doesn't start, even for the deputies, that doesn't start till the next year. So when you do your stuff for the July, for the budget, that
For the
doesn't,
county.
it doesn't for us because we don't do it till January. But, so just to clarify, for theirs starts the next year and then the next year, but hopefully something will be in place by then.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Clerk Thompson.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Let's see, Edith Thompson County Clerk, starting my 17th year, April 8th. And there were 10 years of that 17 where there wasn't a single dollar raise for any of the elected officials. And we lost a lot of good people. So I don't advocate that. I think times were hard, and I don't think we're there yet. I don't think our times are as hard as they were back in 15 when we had to let people off. We had to go through reductions, which is the only time I ever remember that happening in the 17 years that I've been here. But I know that when this last 4-year resolution was approved 4 years ago, that there was considerable thoughtful discussion about, do you just give increments or do you give a single raise? How does that affect the people who are wanting to run for office and looking at a 4-year term? And I agree with the decision 4 years ago. I think it should be a one-time raise, whatever that amount is, because it does affect your years into Wyoming retirement, coming from a school district, adding to my Wyoming retirement, knowing that it does make a difference if you want to be vetted for 3 years in a row at a certain amount. It does make a difference in Wyoming retirement. So that's sort of off in the weeds a little bit, but I just feel like if the county wants to do a raise, I would advocate again for a one-time raise, not a raise that's spread out over numerous years.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So,
Okay.
that's my only comment at this time. I haven't seen any of these handouts, and I don't have the handout that Diana gave. So I just need to review, and glad we have a week to think about it.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. Thank you. All right. Clerk of District Court.
I think I'm gonna fall because I tied my shoe. Good afternoon, Clerk of District Court, Renee Botten. I've listened to Ms. Bennett and Ms. Young Thompson, and I agree with both of them. I do agree that the county attorneys, just because I have attorneys in my family, are underpaid compared to private attorneys and things like that, and that is a deep concern. I also agree with Ms. Shunk Thompson that a one-time raise is better than a raise every year for 4 years. But my concern is also this. Last year, we were asked to give an 8% budget cut based on what Sheridan County budget is and what it could afford. Well, where are we now? We're talking about this, but I have no idea if it can afford it or if we are able to do this. So it kind of looks like we've got to know that first. As well as Coco saying that the employee should be getting a raise. I understand that also. It's just kind of an unknown. We're up here talking and it sounds good that we might get raises. But can the county afford it? I would like to know that and have all that information so that we can look at this. I do agree that there should be raises, and I don't think that elected officials should have to take a stagnant salary. But that goes along with other employees also, as well as can we keep up with the other counties? So my question is, it's an unknown here. You guys are letting us sit here, but what can we do, really?
We're all in the same boat. You know, if we could tell you what our revenues are gonna be today, we would have that information for everyone. But this decision has to be made by May 1st. And I can't remember, Coco, when do the final numbers come in? Not till end of May, correct?
Yes.
Right, so that's the pickle we were in 4 years ago too.
Well, but I had to even give up an employee because of the budget, so.
Right. And I think it's that, well, personally, I think for our discussion today and in your time to think about it, where is that sweet spot where it feels fair and we're in the mix with other counties? I don't know, that's my only gut check today.
Okay. I'll take your information.
I don't know if
and
there's smarter people in here than me, but we don't know what those revenues are gonna be. It sounds like they're gonna be up, but we don't know by how much. Just based on the number of applicants that we had for the 25% exemption this year. So sales and use is up, gaming was up. SRS funds are finally coming through. So it looks better than last year for sure. Take that for what it's worth.
well, I would agree with the others that have already spoken, and I'll watch and read what you guys have given me.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Dr. Berg. I appreciate the conversation, you guys. It is really hard to come up here and advocate for ourselves, not knowing about revenues, as Renee pointed out, but statutorily, something we needed to chat about today, so.
So how
Good
long do you
afternoon.
want to be here? Okay. So I'm looking at your numbers. And it's supposed to be a nice bell curve, right? Is that what it is?
A bell curve?
Yeah, in maths, yeah, bell curve, below, high end.
Which one,
Same
yeah,
looking at the numbers.
which form are you looking at?
So, well, it's the one you guys handed out.
Oh, yeah, that's the 2.5% increases across the top.
That's you
Dr. Bird,
guys.
can I have you speak right into that microphone? You almost have to kiss it, but not quite.
COVID test.
Okay? So we can.
There you go,
keep
that's
up.
better, thank you.
Okay. I was always wondering why those guys hug those mics in the radio, so. Okay, so, looking at the math. Commissioners. 39,000. Coroner, 39,000. So, I asked the question, what do you guys do that I do that are the same?
Statutorily,
No,
not a
no,
whole
we're
lot.
talking statutory. We're talking your resume and my resume. Coroner. Okay. What do you guys do that we both get paid the same? You can justify the same salary. I mean, I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, right, Holly? 3 o'clock. Go out and recover some remains. Sometimes not pleasant. So,
Well, you're free to take my spot when we chat about the MDU transmission line.
but no, this is.
No, Dr. Berg, it's a tough job. Yeah, absolutely.
So is the salary consistent with the job?
What would your opinion be of where that should be?
Well, I mean, Edith gave you some numbers throughout what the coroners are making throughout the state. Right.
I did not provide any.
Oh, I thought you said they're not Edith. Yeah, right. It kind of gives you a picture of salaries. Of course, Nick alluded why Campbell County's coroner makes a lot more money than I do. Because they have the bus over there. That I understand. I guess my point is, and I'm not saying it's insulting, but it's not consistent with what the job description is and what the job does. Okay, it seems like there's a imbalance, especially when you look at a sheet like this. You have the county commissioners making the same as the coroner. Sure, you guys aren't doing my job. You guys aren't getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You guys aren't picking up something that's been out there for 4 or 5 days. And then we have to determine manner, cause, and death. And I put that out to you many times. Come down and see what we do. I think the blueprint isn't correct. So what do you do about this? You know, I mean, you want to compare numbers throughout the state. You know, one county pays more than the other. But resumes, if you expect to have a coroner keep coming in here, it's like what Diane says, trying to get attorneys to come in here, you're gonna have to pay. Now, we've already talked about the cost of a pathologist, way off the chart. I mean, you know, you don't have 355,000 or 375,000 for a pathologist. You know, that's, you're not gonna see them coming to Wyoming. And I was trying to recruit a kid from Wyoming. It grew up in Wyoming. But what we were gonna offer him and what he's making now is 10, 20 times higher. It's a lot from Wyoming.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
I
Dr.
understand.
Bird, what do you think is a fair rate to pay
Yes,
for the
Commissioner.
coroner? You can say the commissioners make way too much, but tell me what you think. Tell me what you think's a fair rate for the coroner.
I don't think you guys make too much. I don't think probably you get paid enough. It's just kind of like me. I don't think
Well, it's,
the coroner gets paid enough.
yeah,
But I think historically, when you look at this, I think you're stuck in the same mode as when you made the transition to get out of that platform. So what you have to look at is the coroner's office, how professional it is. And my staff, they make more money than I do. But, you know, I do it because I love it for the science, and it's something I just love to do. Not everybody likes to do stuff like that. And we're good at what we're doing, and we've made 360-degree corrections in this whole process. So if you talk resumes, there's 30 years of experience. Does that make a difference? In the military, that would. Being on the board is,
if it wasn't you, Dr. Bird, what do you think the next elected coroner, where do you think it would be fair? Not knowing what kind of resume you're gonna get.
I think with the cost of living, and this is one thing about living in Sheridan County, it has to be a little competitive. But looking at overall, if you're gonna attract somebody to do that, I would be somewhere in the 70s, at least, minimum 70s, 70K.
Do you, you know, we've had this conversation before. Do you feel it's a full-time job?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you can't. I tried to pretend like, okay, try to do part-time here. You cannot do quality time, part-time for this. I can't do stuff for Diane, if it's a case going to her house, wheelhouse, it has to be a full-time. We have to be available. We're 24/7. You know,
So 70 is where you'd like to see it?
I
Is
would
that
say
kind of the
that
pin we're
would be the-
putting in
That would
today?
be the minimum base. I would say that would be, because when I look at the other corners across the state, somewhere in the 70s would be,
Okay,
you know, now. And that's just me looking
yeah.
at the
We need a
salaries.
starting place, yeah.
Yeah, you need a starting place. I guess what I'm trying to get you guys to do is get out of this comparison of the same salaries. Okay? I would say you guys are probably worth 70,000 too, but you're the decision makers on these salaries. But I say professionally, you need to climb out of this. And I'm going to say, moving from the funeral home theology to a professional coroner's office, medical examiner's office, following the national standards from NAME, that's the National Association of Medical Examiners, Coroners Association, Coroners Board of Standards. And I can just go through a list of some of the requirements.
Sure,
And
yeah.
where we are today, we are there. Just tweaking, that's all we're doing is
Yeah.
tweaking the process and making it even more better.
And I do want to tell you, we appreciate the professional job that you do.
Well, thank you. I don't hear that enough, but we'll take it.
Thank you for that.
We'll take it.
And unfortunately, for electeds, it's tied to the elected position and it's not tied to a person.
Sure.
So it's a weird spot to be in for sure. And you were you were part of the conversations 4 years ago.
Sure.
But no, I appreciate your comments and getting us at that 70 and
Yeah,
we can chew on it and chat some more next week.
sure. I mean, if you want to see, numbers, I mean, I can give you numbers, so what all the corners, and we're talking corner cases, who's on the high end and who's on the
Yeah.
low end.
Okay.
And so do you use that as a criteria? I don't know.
It's probably like one of those things.
Yeah, what the
Yeah.
resume is. Because see, like today, I mean, you can float. But, all of a sudden, this thing could just really go crazy for
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
so, but we're
Okay.
always ready to do this.
Madam Chair. Yeah. Commissioner Jennings.
Dr. Bird, I certainly would appreciate if you've got those numbers for different cases around the state. If you got it with you, great. If not, I just email a copy. I don't know if anybody else wants a copy of that.
If you just want to
Sure.
get that to Ida, she can get it out to us. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Because I called all the corners
That's great.
through the whole state to
It-
find out what their caseload was.
Yeah,
There was only a few that were a little resistant, but yeah,
that's good information. Yeah. Thank you.
thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, by the way, you guys asked for a job description for the coroner's office. So I put one together. It's 18 pages.
Okay.
Okay, that's a job description. That's even, I didn't think the coroner had that much to,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you follow the statutes and follow what the process is, 18 pages.
If you want to send that to Ida,
I'll
that'd be
I'll
great. She
give her a
could
copy.
distribute it.
Sure,
Well, great. Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. Sheriff Dominguez.
You're quite taller than me, Dr. Berg. Put that down. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Levi Dominguez, Sheridan County Sheriff. I think there's great points that's been said all throughout the afternoon, and I do kind of like, the notion of like, we kind of don't know where we're at, and it's a conundrum that we're all in, right? We don't know where we're at, but What I'll tell you is that going into this, it is tough to advocate for ourselves, but I think of it as advocating for the future of Sheridan County and the services that we want to try to emulate and provide to the Sheridan County residents and its visitors, for the future. And when I say that, I think that my number one focus is when I look at this is retaining and attracting quality staff for the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office. And so it's important to acknowledge that the county's commitment in investing in its county employees. I think that, we need to acknowledge that the county employees over the last 4 years have seen a 15%, rough average of wage increases. But there's still work to be done. When I look at that, I can't speak for other offices or departments, but the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office is still trailing as it pertains to wages for its employees. When you look at, when we compare to other, law enforcement agencies surrounding us. So do we need to be the leader? Do we need to be at the forefront of that at the Sheriff's Office? I would love to say yes, but I know that that's not feasible for the reasons that Commissioner Siddle had made. We can't compare the type of revenue that we bring in like Campbell County when you're talking about minerals and things like that. But we do need to be somewhat comparable. The same agencies that are pulling from the same applicant pool that the Sheriff's Office pulls from, when we think about the Sheridan Police Department, the Sheridan VA Police Department, Wyoming Highway Patrol, Johnson County Sheriff's Office, the Campbell County Sheriff's Office, they're all starting their law enforcement officers, their new law enforcement officers at a wage that's significantly higher than what we can. I'm talking $12,000 to $14,000 a year with other, perks like shift differential, holiday pay, those types of things. And so I know you're like kind of scratching your head, like, Levi, get to the point where are we talking about, we're supposed to be talking about elected salaries, right? But it goes back to, again, my number one priority, and that's our staff. And so when I look at that, just to give you a little, and I know that, because I've been kind of putting the bug in your ear the last several months, that, coming up under this budget session, I plan on asking for a significant raise for our current staff. And we'll ask you as the board to raise our starting wage so that way, we can be somewhat comparable to those other agencies that I explained to you. And it's not, it's not to put us at the front, at the leader. That's just getting us, close, comparable, manageable of what those agencies are. But, Wyoming Highway Patrol is going to see a huge raise. So that was, when I talk about the raise that I'm going to be requesting through this upcoming budget session, that was just getting us not equal, but below, but close. I don't know what the Sheridan Police Department's going to do. I don't know what the Johnson County Sheriff's Office is going to do. I don't know what the VA, I don't know what the other agencies are going to do. And so while I'm optimistic, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but while I'm optimistic that at least you will be receptive to, the requests of the wage increases and the reasons why we need to see that within the Sheriff's Office, and I'd probably say amongst the rest of the county employees itself, it brings to light another dilemma. And it's developing the next generation of leaders, right? What happens when I decide to retire? I'm hoping that the county, residents will give me another chance to serve another term for 4 years as sheriff. But with what happens when I retire, and we're trying to develop that next generation of leaders, with the wage increase that I plan on proposing, for our staff to get us, again, just to be comparable, not leading the forefront in that, that'll put many of our, without a raise to the sheriff's position or the elected's position, that'll put some of our command staff, like our lieutenants, our jail administrator, our patrol, and some of our sergeants, they'll potentially be making more than the sheriff. Okay. And so, well, that's not bad. I'm not saying that, but we'll get to a little bit more. And currently with no significant wage. So let's say you say, Levi, pound sand, we're not going to look at even considering the request of the wage increases that I'm going to request for my staff. And we can only give a 2.5%. So over the next and then we don't provide elected salaries raises too. So let's say the sheriff's salary stays stagnant where it's currently at. In 2 years' time, we'll have our patrol lieutenant and one of our patrol sergeants will be making more than the next sheriff, whoever, whether that's me or the next person. So without the sheriff. So it really comes down when I look at this, developing the next generation of leaders. when we look at, you know, I would ask the question, why would any of our office that we're trying to develop, that's something that I have really honed in on, that we're trying to develop our staff, the sheriff's office staff, so if something were to happen to me, that they can slip right into that role of sheriff. But why would they want to do that if they're going to have to take a pay cut? Why would they want the increased responsibility, the, you know, as Dr. Burton made it, the 2 a.m. phone calls all the time, you know, having to work after hours, all the meetings and things that we, you know, that we see each other out, right? You know, on the, you know, I would love to be at home with my family on some of those, but I made a commitment to Sheridan County. And so some of those are just a sacrifice that, but why would they want to do that when it's time for me to retire? You know, if they have to make that pay cut to do that. So I think we have to make it desirable for the next generation of leaders. And so, you know, when I look at, you know, what Kenny put together, you know, whether you look at, 15%, does that, we acknowledge that we've given a 15% raise to our county employees. Do we do the same for electeds, whether it's a one-time or not? When I think about a one-time or not, you know, if we're making that and it's set in stone, I know it's a one-time, but I would sure hate that, you know, if the county comes on hard times and then I'm receiving a, you know, or I shouldn't say because like we don't know, but that elected official is receiving a $2,500 or a $5,000 raise and county employees don't, right? So there's some of that, whether the one time is beneficial or not, when you're looking at just maybe the optics may not look as good. You know, the elected officials are going to be receiving a wage increase in a year in a tough time because it is set in stone at that point versus, you know, county employees not. You know, when I look at what Kenny put together, do I think that's where it needs to be? You know, certainly any type of, again, I'm looking at where that would be as opposed to, so if where you're looking at it, whether it's the 5,000 a year, I think, you know, and ultimately the end would be for the sheriff would be $106,400 a year. That would be the annual salary for the sheriff. If you're receptive to the ask that I'm going to be asking for our staff for wage increases, I will tell you that at the end of the next term, the next 4 years, that our command staff will be making about $2,000 more a year than what that number is. Just to give you kind of an insight of that. So as the retirement comes, you know, are they willing to step up and like, well, you know, those types of things if I'm ready to retire at that point. So those are that. When I look at the number, gosh, anything's better than nothing. So I'm not going to say, you know, 4 years of not having a raise. Again, I've always gone to bat for our employees and I will still go to bat for our staff. And that's the number one priority when we go back to that. But looking at the two different options of the 15% or whether it's the 5,000 a year, you know, I don't see any issues with that other than, like I said, we might come into a conundrum where we're going to have some staff that, you know, if they're being developed as the next sheriff of Sheridan County, they might go, why would I do that? So in another 4 years, we're going to have to really take a hard look at that as well. And with that, and that's only if they receive just a 2.5% after this year of request. You know, if there's a bigger salary increase over the next 4 years throughout those times, they may be getting paid more than just $2,000 a year than what the sheriff would be making at that time. You know, just kind of looking around, and I can provide these. I didn't provide these numbers. I know you have probably what the current sheriffs in Wyoming are making. But as I was pulling these, and I can kind of pull some of those. But, you know, when you look at kind of just some different, like, for instance, Converse County, they have like, and I get different revenue stream, right? And you know, those types of things. So I don't want to hold, but I'm just kind of shedding some light a little bit. Converse County, right? Half of Sheridan County's population, the sheriff is making currently $113,500 a year. So, you know, half the population, less staff, less calls for service, those types of things. You know, go down a little bit more within that Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, a third of Sheridan County's population. Again, I don't know what the revenue stream is, $117,000 a year, right? Less, you know, definitely the counties, you know, the geography is a little different, but those types of things. You know, and you're looking at Sublette County, a quarter of Sheridan County's population, $110,000 a year. When you're looking at that, again, less staff, less calls for service, a quarter of the population. When you're looking at that, again, all of us sheriffs, we share the same responsibilities, right? As far as statutorily, what we're required to provide to Sheridan County and those types of things, those don't change. It's also how, through the means of what the county is also the revenue stream that we get, what extra can we do, to provide law enforcement to Sheridan County. So those are all different things. Each county is a little bit different in that side and those sense of things. And I give you this not to say that's what I want. I'm just kind of giving you when you're comparing of what you're looking at different of those types of things. And so, and I know you're wanting a number, right? And so those are things you're like, come on, I get to a number because I think you've asked all of us, get to a number, right? What Kenny's put together, I wouldn't have any heartburn over that other than the fact of when you look at the potential raise, the ask that I'm going to ask for our staff coming up in this future budget cycle, potentially with this at the end of the next term of that 4 years, a few of those folks may be making more than what the sheriff would be making. And those are folks that are certainly keen on the list to being developed to be the next sheriff of Sheridan County. So.
Okay. Message received. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah. No, thank you for the information. And then, yeah, if you could send those. Well, we have a list with the.
You have that list, and I had I added like the population to each.
Okay. Okay.
Very good. Look at that too. I can send you what I have, but yeah.
Any questions for Levi? Thank you, Sheriff.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would just look at the numbers again under the 2.5% for sure. I think that's
Yeah,
right.
it's off. I think it's supposed to be 93,685. I think it's adjusted over a column. So we'll look at that. Thank you. All right. Treasurer Harris.
Chair Haswell, Commissioners, good afternoon. Katie Harris, Sheridan County Treasurer. I appreciate the opportunity to review the comparative salary data and thank the board for their work on the process as well. Sorry, I have my notes all over here. Well, as we've all kind of expressed, it feels somewhat awkward to advocate for compensation adjustments. It's important to emphasize that this discussion is less about the individual and more about the long-term strength and sustainability of the position itself. Although the treasurer's role may not carry the same range of intensity or challenges as positions such as sheriff, attorney, or coroner, there are significant number of statutory duties and ongoing responsibilities that require diligence, competence, and accountability. The effectiveness of the treasurer's office depends on a capable individual who can effectively serve. I guess ultimately, I'm hoping for any adjustments are balanced with budget constraints and recognition of the importance of county staff compensation and how essential they are to day-to-day functions and delivery of public service. So I don't have a number for you guys at this point. If that's something you're looking for at the next meeting, be happy to look through all of this, but all I have is this juncture. Yeah, probably more like numbers for next meeting.
It would be great. Or you're just leaving it up to us to pull something.
Sure.
And I'd love your 2 cents just from that perspective and experience level. I know sitting in the finance committee meetings, I kind of had an idea what you guys did down there. And then having the conversations that we've been having every Monday, I don't even know what that word means. I don't even know what she's talking about. That sounds very detailed and into the minutia. So yeah, thank you for all the behind the scenes stuff that you do. But yeah, if you could come, with a number next time, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Kate? Thank you. Appreciate it. County Commissioners, who wants to kick us off? Don't everybody speak up at once.
You guys put us on the spot.
I know.
Do you want one of us to call one of you guys?
I would say the nature of the job is part-time. Because of that, I feel satisfied with where it's at. That's my 2 cents.
Madam Chair.
I'll just start us off. Yes, Commissioner Day.
Chime in very quickly. I also believe that our current salary is very commensurate for the level of work that we do. And would like to keep it where it's at.
I have no qualms with where it's at. I didn't ever get into it for the money. I do think, Dr. Bird, I'd sure show you my resume. If I was in the job that I had for the previous 32 years, I'd be making at least 4 times that money, you know? So I'd be glad to show you my resume, but I feel very qualified for the job of county commissioner, but I never got into being a county commissioner for the money. I got in it because I believe in the community and so on and so forth. And so I'm fine with the rate of pay the way it is.
Technically, since Dr. Bird's going for 70, we just have to be below the lowest elected, so.
Yep.
Commissioner RZ?
Yeah. Let's raise it a little bit.
I'm going to echo these two on either side of me as well as yourself. None of us ever put our hat in the ring and campaign and actually become elected thinking that this is some sort of get rich quick scheme or anything like that, where we can just put ourselves a raise and wow, you know, that isn't the reason why you do public office at all. We do public office because we care about the people of Sheridan County. I certainly did not get in this for the money whatsoever. I got in it to represent the people. I fully well was aware of what the salary was going to be like and if I could handle it for the next 4 years or not. That was my decision to make before I even went and registered over at the elections office, put my hat in the ring. And there's some really good comment out, especially from Levi and some of the other people about what's this going to look like 4 years from now, because that's what we have to look at is are we okay with this for 4 years because we don't get to visit it for another 4 years? Are you going to be okay with the money that you get for a salary? And that's the thing that we're going to look at, but I'm okay with it, my salary for the next 4, for the next 4, 2, 3, whatever, however long I'm still going to be here. And then if I choose to run again, that's going to be the same thing again. It's going to be, you know, I will look at the salary and that's where I will go from. I'm not going to, so that's my
You know, the
4
county
cents worth.
commissioner one is weird because we all know commissioners that are either retired or have another job that they do around being a commissioner. It's not like these other positions that are full-time for folks.
Exactly.
So.
And Kenny, how many years has it been since the county commissioners took a raise?
Well, I don't know. I've been here almost 12 years and they haven't taken one.
Right. Yeah, I think, I know it's been at least 16, maybe 20 since the county commissioners took a raise, so. Nobody wants to vote themselves a raise. It's okay.
I will say, I don't share that for the rest of the electeds.
Correct.
Like, we need to get something in there for you guys, so. Great. Does anybody have anything else? Clint, Cameron, anything to add? I appreciate the discussion. Hopefully this is some things for folks to chew on for our next meeting next Tuesday at 2 here. And
My apologies, I will be gone next Tuesday, so.
okay. Thank you for the heads up.
Yep.
Well, with that, we are adjourned at 3:04.